Hey, I'm Alicia, your non-monogamous relationship coach. Welcome to the podcast where my friends and I chat about our relationships, enthusiastic non-monogamy, polyamory, swinging, kink, and our lives. You'll get a candid peek into what makes it worth it to live life outside the box. And in case you're still wondering, nope, we're not monogamous. Hello, hello, hello. Today I have the privilege of digging into Hannah Da Silva's remarkable journey. And this is a journey that led her from swinging lifestyle to the intricate landscape of polyamory. We'll talk about the challenges that she faced managing multiple partners, the significance of setting boundaries, and the value she places on personal time within her unique and unconventional Triad. This is a setup infused with a BDSM dynamic, and you will want to hear more about this. Hannah takes us on a candid exploration of how she copes with the intricate demands of balancing two partners with a BDSM dynamic, alongside the commitments of work, family, personal time, and she shares the importance that she places on a clear hierarchy and boundaries in her relationships, and creating a dynamic that challenges social norms and embraces individual authenticity. Hannah is not only an empowerment and relationship coach, but she also delights in the fringes of traditional society. She's bisexual, non-monogamous, embraces kink, and she brings the topic of sexuality and taboo out into the open, helping others shed social shame and live as their authentic selves. She's also a published author and the host of her own podcast, Kinky Unpopular, where she invites you to follow her BDSM journey. So you'll hear more about the emotional impact of non-monogamy and the continuous process of self-discovery and the ever-present learning curve that comes with exploring the world of non-monogamous relationships in this episode. But real quick, I want to share with you that our podcast thrives with the support of our incredible Patreon community. If you're finding value in these episodes and want to get even closer to Nope, We're Not Monogamous, the experience, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. By joining our Patreon family, you not only get access to exclusive perks and behind-the-scenes content, but you also help me continue to bring you these meaningful conversations. So you can head over to patreon.com/notmonogamous and become a part of our wonderful Patreon family. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed it. Bye. I pretty much have it down, but I still hang up on people. Like when we get done recording, instead of hitting stop, I'll hit the big red end button, and then I'm like, oh crap, I just hung up on them.
And then just type a message back. So sorry. Bye.
Yeah. Sorry, talk to you later. Gotta go.
It's like mic drop.
Totally. But I'm excited that you're here.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here as well.
Yeah.
Super excited.
Yeah. You so before I hit record, we were talking about that you have a lot of exciting things going on. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta hit record. So do you want to tell me a couple of those exciting things again, like as if you hadn't just told me?
Okay, we'll pretend like we have no idea what I'm about to say. So yeah, in the space of about 3 weeks, so it's if I split it into 2 separate weeks, so within 1 week I got divorced from my ex, I got engaged, and I had my 30th birthday, and then 2 weeks after that I had a press release in a national magazine talking about swinging. I then had a book that I've co-authored be published, which is now an Amazon #1 bestseller. Also talking about non-monogamy and swinging and just bits and pieces from my life. And then I've also just launched my podcast, which is about BDSM. So
did you launch that like yesterday?
Literally yesterday, yeah.
Yeah.
I recorded it the day before, and then I launched it yesterday.
Congratulations. So
Thank
exciting.
you. It's been on my to-do list for about a year, but I finally did it.
No time like now when everything else is going on.
Exactly. It seems like the perfect time. I've got the motivation to do stuff. I'll just ride that wave out. It can't go wrong. If it does, I can just kind of sweep it under the carpet and just focus on all the other good things. It's all good.
I also love the title of your podcast. Do you want to share it?
Kinky Unpopular.
I love it so much.
I was inspired. So for the people that don't understand the kind of joke behind that as well, there's a fetish website called FetLife, and they have a kind of explore section called Kinky Unpopular. So I kind of stole that and turned it around a little bit, just because I nearly forgot the
Yes.
title actually. I came up with it a few months ago, and then we were recorded the episode, we were about to post it, and we're like, what was the title I was going to use? It was really good, and it took us about an hour to remember what it was, but we got there in the end, and it was worth it, I hope.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so I am curious. Obviously, I talk a lot about non-monogamy on Nope, We're Not Monogamous. So I'm curious about your relationship style, structure, preference. What
Mhm.
what do you what's your relationship philosophy?
Mm. So I would say it's changed. I definitely went through an kind of exploration phase. So I'd say it's kind of a background thing. I think I started swinging when I was about 19, when I was with my ex. And so I was kind of engaged slash married at the time. And so, yeah, that was our way of kind of exploring the non-monogamous side. Um, and then when things ended with him and I moved on, I basically knew that I wanted to be polyamorous. I was just like, this is something that I need in my life. This is something that I have to explore. I want the freedom to have those connections, to not be kind of tied down in a relationship, to have that space to be me and not have to hold back parts of myself, not to kind of have this awkward thing where you can't really connect with people fully because you're worried about what your partner's going to think, or you're worried about, crossing these boundaries, and just
Mhm.
all of that. It didn't feel good. I didn't like feeling trapped. So I started exploring, and yeah, I was in a poly relationship for about 4 years with someone. Um, and then during that time, I met my partner now. So I was kind of dating two guys at the same time, and that was, yeah, difficult. That was my
Yeah?
first kind of proper experience of polyamory. And yeah, that was tough. Trying to find the balance between my kind of primary partner at the time, while seeing my new partner, having time by myself, working, family, etc. It was like, wow, let's get a little rotor going. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was intense. Um, Loads of feelings, obviously, tons
Yeah.
of emotions coming up, jealousy, all of the usual things you'd expect. Yeah, lots of difficult moments, definitely. But I think that time was probably the thing that I struggled with the most, was finding that balance between myself.
Like the time management piece.
Yeah, definitely. I had just got to a point where I had started living in my own flat. The first place I lived by myself, and I was probably 26, 27 at that point. So I'd never lived alone. And it was kind of my space, my time. I was just starting to get used to having that time, really valuing me time. And then throwing two partners in, friends, work, family life. I was like, oh God. Plus being an introvert and just loving
Oh
being at
yeah.
home alone a lot of the time. I was like, this is not a good place for me to be with two people that I'm like trying to balance and everything else. And it's like, yeah, a little bit tough, but it works. We made it work.
Yeah, if you could go back and give that Hannah advice about how to manage that, what would you tell her?
Hmm. I don't really know. I don't think there's any advice I could give myself to make it work better. I think at that point, I'd probably got to a point where I was being very firm with what I wanted. And I'd kind of almost gone into this kind of no fucks attitude where I was like, okay, well, this is my space, this is my time. I invite you into my time. Like, it was a very conscious choice. I'd kind of got past this phase of always being with people and always doing what other people wanted because it was expected. And I was like, no, I'm
Mm.
liking my space. Like, do you want to meet up? Do you want to go do something? No, I'm going to sit at home. What are you going to do? I have no idea. Watch a film, eat chocolate. I have no idea, but I'm having me time. And I just stuck with that. And I think it was a bit of a challenge to start with, but it was needed. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think I wouldn't necessarily change anything. I wouldn't necessarily have anything that I would give myself advice wise, but that was probably the biggest thing that helped me do that, was just that real, no, this is my space, my time. I invite you into this. It's a conscious choice every single time. If I do not want to spend that time with you, I will quite happily say that. Like, no, I'm good by myself. Like, let's arrange it for another day, or, even just last minute things as well. We'd arrange made plans, and if like I'm really not feeling it today, just like, okay, cool, reschedule for another day. And I was lucky that both of them were very kind of understanding of that. And yeah, really can't think of the word, but they just really held that space for me to kind of just be like, nope, I'm good doing my own thing. So that was
Yeah.
probably, yeah, what I would advise other people to do if they're in a similar situation, is to really like have those boundaries in place and really feel them, and feel unapologetic about saying, I want to spend time by myself, because that is such a great skill that I think so many people don't pick up quick enough,
Oh my
especially with
God,
multiple partners.
if I had known that by the time I was 30, holy shit, my life would be different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
different.
it is good.
Oh,
No, it doesn't
yeah.
always work in every situation. Like, I
Right.
struggle more with that now than I did back then. But I think that's because, I'm living with a partner, I'm living with two, and it's trying to find that balance. Is like, yeah, it's more difficult when you don't have space to escape to. So I've kind of got to go outside the house and like go to a coffee shop and spend time by myself. And that's great. But then for me personally, like especially the beginning of this kind of dynamic, dealing with the spaces of jealousy in that as well. Like me leaving the house, going to get coffee, and in the back of my head, just that little voice being like, they're together, what are they doing? Just being like, I'm trying to relax here, like, leave me alone. So, like, that's been
Hmm.
more difficult, but in a very different way. But that in
Oh
itself has been a
man.
journey.
Yeah. So there's three of you that live together?
Yes, yes. So, my partner Zach and I are engaged, so male partner, and then together we own a BDSM slave as well, so a submissive partner. Um, so it's kind of like a triad setup, but also not, because the BDSM dynamic means that it's not a kind of traditional romantic relationship. So like we do not see her as a girlfriend. She is not a romantic partner, but she's still part of our family. She's still part of our kind of unit. So
Yeah.
it's a bit unusual, but it's still got the same challenges that kind of the traditional triad would have. And it's, yeah,
Yeah.
just a nightmare. Easier in some ways, more difficult in others.
I imagine. Wow. Okay. That is fascinating. And my head is, I've got so many questions because
Mhm.
I imagine, so I also have a triad where we live together. Um I, where
Gonna
I am
compare
not
notes.
engaging in the BDSM portion of that, right?
Yes.
And so I'm curious about, I imagine it's a lot easier to create boundaries and agreements
Yes. Yeah.
than,
In terms of hierarchy, obviously that is set in stone and that is very clear, and it works really well for us because her place being kind of the non-primary is exactly what she wants. She does not want to be a primary. She does not want to encroach on our relationship. She's the separate entity yet still within our bubble. So in terms of that kind of issue that I think a lot of couples have, in terms of like, okay, you've got to balance the time between partners, you've got to make it equal and fair. We don't have that problem because that doesn't even come into play. So in that
Mhm.
respect, it becomes a lot easier to deal with. It's kind of like there is absolutely nothing wrong with us being like, we want a night to ourselves, go into the other room. She's like, yep, cool, have fun.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that aspect makes it so much easier.
Uh-huh. And yet the jealousy still comes up.
Oh yeah, massively.
What is that? Wow. Okay. I shouldn't be surprised because I'm notoriously jealous. So, and all of the different ways I've tried to combat it by
Mm,
circumstance haven't worked. The only things have been like, my own internal shit. Uh,
yeah,
but
yes.
but I love that. So I'm curious, do you guys have a plan in place for like if that dynamic no longer works for her?
So it's something, so we've been in the dynamic for now for coming up to a year. So it's been, a good amount of time. We're kind of still going through challenges, definitely, but it's more kind of balanced out now to like a natural rhythm. And honestly, like it's not on any of our radars for that not to happen.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just the nature of the BDSM dynamic, it would be if that did come to an end completely, we would probably lose contact.
Yeah.
Probably for at least a set period of time, just no contact. Just the way that she kind of works in those dynamics, it's very much a all in.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it would be tough if that happened. It's not something that we've necessarily talked about because it's nowhere near as kind of, we'd probably know a year in advance whether that was likely to happen. So we'd kind of have that time to plan it and transition and figure all the details out. But yeah, probably not likely to happen. It's
Yeah.
not planning to anyway.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, nobody plans on that. At least we, I
No.
mean, I don't know. I guess some people do.
Escape plans.
Right? I'm curious, do you feel like polyamory is a choice or an identity?
My gut feeling says identity. I would say that it is a part of my identity. I think it can be a choice as well, though,
Yeah.
because I think, as with any identity, you could choose not to live by that identity.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, it's a little bit of both for me. I have chosen to live as that. That is what works for me. That is what I want from my life. And I've kind of chosen to bring that in. So, yeah, I'd like to say that it's an identity, but I think in the way that the society is at the moment, it's probably more of a choice that people have to make
Mm,
because it's not a choice that we get given. Monogamy
right?
is still a default, and
Yes.
anything outside of that is seen as something different. Hopefully, one day that won't be the same, and then it can be an identity and it won't even be this big thing anymore. People can just do what they want.
Right? That's what we're doing, right?
Yep, we're trying.
Uh-huh. Um, yeah, yeah. I find like the more I dig into it, the more I can look back and go, oh, it was definitely always there.
Yeah,
Definitely. 100%.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm bisexual as well, obviously, the kind of female partner aspect, and that's been a part of who I am since I was probably like 8. I think, really, really young, I knew that I was attracted to women, and that's just never shifted for me. It's like that was definitely part of my identity. I think I've always gone through this thing of just like the idea of monogamy. I enjoyed it. I think I kind of liked it as a way of, oh, this is what we're meant to do. The whole kind of relationship escalator thing. It was this prize to be won, this like I'm successful at life because I found this thing, I've done the thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until I did that. I got it out of the way early, did the whole marriage thing, had a child who's great. But then kind of was like, yeah, this way doesn't work. Okay, yeah, this I've tried it. This doesn't work for me. I need something else. And I've kind of just weaved in a few different things and ended up where I am now. And I don't know if I'll stay the same. I don't know if things will kind of shift and change more, but I just know that fluid kind of movement in my life is definitely what I need in some aspects. I do not do well with the feeling of being trapped. It just doesn't feel good. I feel like I'm repressing part of who I am.
Totally relatable.
Yeah.
Nope, don't want to do that. Yeah, I was very similarly like monogamous for a long time, had kids, did the whole thing, got divorced, and was like, nah, not for me.
Yeah.
I want to do
No.
something else. And now, how do I get my nervous system on board with that?
Yeah. A lot of unprogramming to do. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say has been like, what's been, besides the time management, what's been the hardest part of that?
Probably the jealousy, definitely.
Mm.
The emotional impact of it. Um, I think it's the getting on board your brain and your body, because my thoughts, what I want to happen, what logically I know I want and I agree with, and I'm like, this is correct. My brain's like, I'm safe here. Like, this is, I do not have to be threatened by this other person in my life. Like, this is fine. This is a good thing. I can see all of that logically. I understand
Yeah.
everything. And
Yep.
then still internally, I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? And it's just like, will you just stop? Just chill. And it's like, they
Already.
they they don't talk to each other. Yeah, I've got one just being like, calm down, just relax, it's all good. And the other part of me is just being like, no, it's not, no, it's not, danger, run, run, be sad, be angry, be all of the emotions, just. And it's just like, okay, well, let's go and sit in the corner for 5 minutes and just wait till you calm down, and then we'll try again. And that's usually what happens, and then things are usually okay. But yeah, definitely the biggest challenge.
Yes. Yeah. Same. Same. Still, I mean, I've been non-monogamous
Always.
for 10 years and it's like, my God, really? Are we still
Yeah.
doing this? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I
do I
went
still have to feel
through.
this way?
I know I've had that, obviously not quite 10 years of it, but I had that. I think the last year has been difficult. We've had loads of challenges to overcome and just various things. And I went through kind of at the beginning of everything. I was like, cool, this is great. This is fine. Everything was good. And genuinely felt really kind of secure and everything was just great. And we were just working our way through nice and slow, and everything was beautiful. And then a couple of things happened that kind of completely just shook everything up. And we ended up having to kind of, they were both like, okay, let's just slow down because we don't need to like rush. There's no need for that. We can go at your pace. And I was like, but I don't want to go at my pace, because as soon as you give me the control, I am not going to want to give that up. And we got to a point where we kind of all agreed that there would be kind of boundaries and limitations on what was happening, their interactions and all of this stuff. And it did help to an extent, but then, and I knew this from kind of past experience and just knowing what I'm like in general, I knew that that would be really hard to shift out of, because I'm like, well, what you're doing right now is giving the really insecure part of me the control. That is not the best thing for me. Like, it feels safer, but one, they're still insecure. And now you're giving them control of the situation. And then eventually you're going to want that back. And that's not helpful. That is not going to, long term, that is not pushing us towards our goal. So we kind of did that for a little bit of time, really, really mindful of that process and kind of being really conscious and trying to kind of figure out the best way to find that balance. And then eventually got to a point where I was like, okay, all limits are off, all boundaries are off. Like, I'm trusting you. Let's have some evidence that things are fine. My nervous system is good. Had some really, really good weeks where I was like, I do not feel jealous. I have no issues. I'm feeling great about this. Like, I can go out, I can enjoy myself, I can come back, I can feel like I'm not walking into something and becoming a burden on their time. Like, all of these things that you can kind of can come up in these situations. And then, like 4 weeks ago, just out of the blue, it comes up again. And I'm like, why is this here? It's like, I thought I dealt with this. I was doing so well. And yeah, just one of those waves, isn't it? Something happens, that insecurity pops its head back up, and you're like, oh, you haven't gone. You're still here. Damn
It's like playing whack-a-mole.
it. Yeah.
I got that one. Oh shit, there's another one.
Yes. Yeah. It's great fun. People should definitely try it.
I mean, I promote it every day, so
Me too.
right?
There you
We're
go.
like,
It
man,
must
this
be
really
something
sucks.
worth.
You should do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's totally worth it though. When those good times
Absolutely.
hit, absolutely amazing.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it is definitely difficult. Yeah,
Yeah.
I won't lie to anybody. I think the most non-monogamous people I speak to, they have the same thing. When they speak to somebody who's monogamous, it's usually like, wow, that's intriguing. How do you deal with that? Or it's a, I couldn't deal with that. It's like, yeah, me neither. Yeah, and I'm still trying.
And yeah, here we are. It's like parenting. This is really
Yes.
hard. I'm still doing it.
Yep. It's like one day it'll feel like it's been worth it.
I hear this is really rewarding. What
Everyone
everyone keeps
lied.
saying.
Uh, yeah, there are good times. There are
True.
definitely good times, good
It's
moments,
true.
amazing moments. But yeah, they do come at a cost, a difficulty. But that in itself, I think, is great. Like the insecurities that I've been dealing with are root cause. Like, yes, they are based around relationships, but mostly they're based around, my view of myself, my self-worth, and everything to do with just who I am and all of my fears. And it's brought it all up into the light. And it's just like, let's just shine a massive big light on all of the little nooks and crannies of myself that I try to ignore and I try to repress and I try to hide because I do not like them. And it's like, let's shine a big light on them and let's deal with them. Let's make them feel safe. And I've got two people that are like, yeah, let's deal with this. Like,
Yeah.
we will make you feel safe with this. We will seal these pieces and we will still love you and we will still be here. And that is something that I don't think would have happened in such a way if I was still monogamous. I wouldn't have got that same depth because I think a lot of those pieces would only be able to come up to the light in a situation where I'm being triggered so much.
Yeah.
So it's like a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Can you, I'm curious, can you explain like, how do you figure out what those pieces are and what they need?
So I think a lot of it is a good chunk of the foundation has been from my previous relationship and going through
Mm.
that process and knowing myself. And I was doing that at the same time that I was doing the Vita coaching training.
Yeah.
So spending like 2 years doing all of these practices, embodiment practices, all of this stuff, and that really helped.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things that as I was going through that, I didn't necessarily notice what I was picking up and all of these things that I was learning. And it wasn't until I kind of looked back and I was like, wow, actually, I know myself pretty well. I've uncovered a lot of stuff here. So I think, yeah, a lot of that was knowledge of a similar situation where I knew I was going to react in a certain way. I kind of understood myself enough to know what those triggers were. Um, Part of it as well was from a previous kind of poly relationship. So yeah, so I had a previous kind of poly relationship type thing. And it really, really challenged my insecurities. And I had one side really, really supportive, other side not at all. Or not in the way that I needed it, not in the way that was beneficial. And so having that contrast as well, I think, because I went through a situation where I didn't get what I wanted and I could identify that what was being presented to me wasn't matching what I actually needed. Then when
Mm.
I was in a different situation, I kind of had that understanding of like, well, I know that this does not work. So let's not do that again. And then through that, it's kind of almost like a process of elimination to figure out what did work. And I think that's probably the key thing has been, I think this will work. Okay, let's try it. Okay, this part of this didn't work, but this part I think is good. Can we focus on there? And then it kind of like, it's almost like this little branch that you just narrow it down and just split off each side as you find bits that do work and don't work. And then you kind of just end up being like, oh, okay, here's a solution. This is a good thing. And then things change and they throw out the window and have to start again. But
Uh-huh.
nature of it.
That's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, it's all an
Yeah.
experiment. Like, you
Yeah.
have to try things, you have to have experiences, you have to have time. Like, you can't, there's no blueprint that you can follow and be like, well, this is how you do it, and this is how you just have a great non-monogamous relationship that nobody ever feels anything negative ever, because
Yeah.
it's just not possible. So you have to do things to figure out what works for you, and then you add more people and you're like, okay, now we got to start over. How do these people need me to behave? How do I need them to behave? What if
Yeah. Yeah. And all of those kind of the external changes as well. So all of the people on the outskirts of your internal bubble with your kind of direct partners, changes happen there and it ripples through, and it's like
Yeah.
so many constant adjustments. It is like just it is kind of that thing of, okay, monogamous couple, a little bit of back and forth, that's easy enough. Maybe some outturn kind of external influence, but mostly it's okay. Polyamorous, okay, your partner, maybe another partner, maybe they have another partner, so there's four of you. Okay, and then you navigate that, and that within itself has so many multiple layers. And then somebody else appears, and it's like, okay, readjust again. It just can
Mm-hmm.
constant. It can be like infinite. Obviously, the waves lower, and I think they get smaller depending how far out from the kind of the center point they go.
Yeah.
But it can still have that chain effect, which just, yeah, makes things complicated. But it's half the fun, I think.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. Totally. And I can picture or I can imagine right now in my head, I'm imagining people going, "Oh my God, that sounds like way too much. I don't want anybody to ever impact my life." And I'm like, whether you're sleeping
Yeah,
with them or not, or dating them or not, like people impact your life. It's
yeah.
just gonna happen. Jobs, kids, I don't know, houses,
Hmm.
all the thing, friends.
Yeah.
You're just picking and choosing what's going to influence it.
Yeah. And it's being open as well. It's like I think the biggest lesson, there's a lot of people I've spoken to about being polyamorous, and they've kind of, they've been interested about my reasons for doing it, because I think whilst a lot of people have very similar reasons, they've also kind of got their own individual reasons for it. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, so you do it so you can have the freedom, so you can go and, do what you want and all of this. And I'm like, yes, but no. It's the freedom is nice to have. It's nice to have the space to explore that. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to or that I need to at a point in time. It's just having that there. The way I've explained it is kind of like, most monogamous people are happy to be locked in a room. Some people are happy to be in a room where the door's unlocked and they can kind of go in and out every now and then, swinging or open relationships. It's just like some people like to have the door completely open so they can kind of wander in and out a little bit easier. Some people don't like being in the fucking room. They just want to be in the open space and they want to enjoy everything and just let things flip past and be able to see things and appreciate them. And it's that openness that I
Yeah.
really love. And for me specifically, how that overlaps with the BDSM as well is surrender. Like
Mm,
surrendering to how these other people come into my life, how they go out of my life,
yeah.
how they impact me, how I impact them, just really kind of trying to let go of any control over that and just going with the flow and just letting things happen as they happen.
I love and hate surrender all at the same time.
Yeah.
Go with the flow and let go. Wait, I need control.
Yep. But that's why it's the best thing to do. The things that you
Yes.
hate the most are usually the things that you need to do the most. That is probably the biggest thing that I've learned from kind of doing all of the coaching and training. That's pretty much my key thing that I have to remember is like, if there's a practice or something that I'm meant to be doing and I'm like, I do not want to do this, I'm like, it's probably because that is the thing that I need to do the most.
Yeah.
Resistance. Yeah.
That lesson. Yeah, I haven't gotten that one
Yeah.
yet.
I didn't say I did it. I'm just
Yeah.
aware of
I
it.
think it. I think it for sure. Like, oh, that's what I should be doing. Well, I'm gonna go
Just
play
ignore
some
that.
Zelda now.
Yeah. That's a tomorrow job. Right now, I'm dealing with this other thing.
Uh-huh. Very important. Very important.
Very.
That's amazing. Okay, tell me about the book.
Mm. Uh, exciting. Exciting and scary all in one. Um, Yeah, it was posted on a Facebook group looking for people to join it, and it's I think this is the fourth book in the series, so it's usually around 20 people that kind of come in, share their stories around different parts of life. So I know that one of the other books was around kind of identity and self-love and things like that. The one I'm in is sex, love, and relationship, so it's kind of split into three parts. Um, And yeah, I saw this post on Facebook one day looking for people to kind of come and join this and share this story. And I was like, hell no, nobody wants to listen to that. And, that's way too scary for me to go and write a book about myself and really expose myself publicly like that. I was like, I just can't do that. And then a few months go by and it pops back up again. And they're like, we're really looking for people that have alternative lifestyles, that are queer, non-monogamous, anything like this. Like we need more variety, we need more stories. And I was like, shit, okay, yeah, that's me. And I was like, fuck it, I'll apply. I'll just apply and I'll see. So I just put it in. I was like, well, I'm bisexual, I'm non-monogamous, I'm kinky. Here's my layout of my life at the moment. Is that interesting enough? And within 20 minutes, the lady who runs it, Serena, came back, was like, I love it. Yeah, come join us. And I was like, oh crap, I've signed up for it now. I gotta do this.
I took a leap.
um yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I've signed up for it now. I can't go back. And yeah, I started writing. We got about 3,000 words, I think it was. It roughly, it's kind of, we get like obviously a little chapter each across about 20 people. It's obviously makes up a quite nice sized book. And I just sat down and I just kind of started writing. And I did it in two parts. And I actually did this is kind of all part of the story that I share in there as well, but I kind of do a little bit of background, kind of talk about my experiences swinging with my ex, and kind of just where I started off as a teenager and where my view of relationships started and what it kind of grew into. And then about halfway through, my ex, who I had kind of entered BDSM and polyamory with, he died really unexpectedly, completely out of the blue, literally midway through me writing this book.
Oh man, I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was tough. It was strange. Like we didn't have much contact anymore. He's kind of was moved on and really happy. And yeah, it was weird. Like he'd already been mentioned in the book. He was a big part of this story, and he was kind of my entry point into this. He was there at the turning point and played a very big
Mm,
part in me being where I am today.
yeah.
So I kind of got halfway through and I was about to move on to like my current day. And I kind of stopped and went back and I was like, okay, now I've got to like write this in, put this emotion in, be vulnerable, like share this as part of my story because it is part of my story.
Yeah.
So I kind of reflected a little bit, and it was good because it allowed me space to reflect on that relationship by
Mm,
itself, the lessons I'd learned, the things that I'd done. And yeah, I kind of put a little bit more in about that. And then towards the end, I kind of moved on to my present day, kind of skimmed over that a little bit more and was a little bit quicker. But yeah, it was a great experience. It's got so many weird and wonderful little stories in it. I like to think of, a little bit biased, but it's got a nice flow to it and leaving on a little bit of yeah, hopefully wanting people to know more, which is also
uh-huh.
partly why I started the podcast, because most people hear about my situation now and then they're just like, I'm sorry, you're what? It's like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I don't have time to go over this right now, but let me just record stuff and you can listen to it when you're ready, because that'll be way easier. Um, but yeah, so it came out a couple of days ago, and yeah, it's all of the proceeds are being raised for the Hopeful Handbags charity as well. So, which is domestic abuse victims, which is obviously an amazing cause as well. So, yeah, I was really excited to do it. And I'm now being told by multiple people that I need to start writing stories and kind of doing a bigger or working on like a bigger autobiography.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
plan is to maybe start writing down some stuff now and then maybe just every year or so, just do like a little chapter and like long term project. Maybe like 10 years I'll publish
A
it or
life
something.
project.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited. I downloaded the book yesterday and I haven't read it yet, but I think I know everyone or almost everyone that's
Yes.
written in there. And so I'm just like I'm so excited to what was the title again?
It's Love Thy Body.
Love Thy
Yeah.
Body. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
good. I
Some
love that
really
it
amazing
took off
stories in there.
too.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So this is the fourth one in the kind of series of them. But yeah, it's been an amazing experience to do that, especially kind of never writing a book before and having that
Right.
process and sharing it, like it's really surreal. But yeah, it's just been really lovely to read everyone else's stories as well and see the variety. And I'm a bit of a nerd with stuff, but even just seeing like the different writing styles has been really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. But yeah, I am the last story in the book, which I like to think best to last. That's what I'm telling myself anyway.
Uh-huh.
End of
Uh-huh.
the bag, just throwing the weird kinky stuff at the end. Be fine.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Um, amazing. Amazing. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would want to share with the listeners?
Mm, I don't know. I think we've top level gone over everything, to be honest. It's yeah.
Yeah.
Unless I start going through all my divorce and engagement stuff, but that's nowhere near as
So there's a
interesting.
whole other episode.
It's a whole other thing, and that's not very interesting for the common person. Far more interested in the weird king dynamic than I'm in, definitely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, I have another question for you. This is for a segment that only my Patreon supporters get called Just the Tip. And they can find that at patreon.com/not-monogamous if they want to listen. um, so what is your best or favorite sex tip? Amazing. I love it. Where can people find you?
So I have a brand new shiny website, which is desilvacoaching.com. And I am across most social media under that handle as well. So I got a Facebook, got Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, I've also got a blog connected to the website as well, which I am got a couple of bits and pieces, and I'll be sharing more about my non-monogamous journey and my kinky journey. And yeah, if you're interested in the kink side, definitely the podcast. There's only one episode out at the moment, but yeah, we'll be recording some more, and it's gonna be interesting. That's for
I'm
sure.
excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Yeah, and that is Kinky and Unpopular. So definitely
Love it.
check that one out. Even if you're just being nosy and you'd never get into kink, guarantee it'll be interesting. And I think, like, again, from kind of the non-monogamous perspective as well, we will be diving into a lot of topics around how to deal with the jealousy and all of those aspects. So, like, non-monogamous people probably find it quite interesting from that side of the fence as well.
Yeah. I I feel like the overlap between polyamory and BDSM is and nerd culture is like it's
Yes.
such a strong overlap.
Oh yeah. We're the weirdos and we're unapologetic about it. We just find our tribe and we're like, you kinky? Yeah, I'm kinky. You're a nerd? Yep. You poly? Yeah, pretty much. Okay, cool. We can be friends.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny when I have clients come to me who are like, newly opening up and they're like, but how do we find people who are like who have any concept of consent and
Hmm.
like all these things and I'm like, oh, go find a kink space, you'll
Yeah,
find your people, I promise. Like that's
100%.
all you have to do, it'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. I love walking into those spaces because for the most part, I look very kind of straight, like
Girl next door.
monogamous, like, yeah, like I look very kind of normal. And then I walk in and people get to know me like bisexual, like, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Polly, interesting. Okay, so maybe she's a slut. I am. And then it's like BDSM. Okay, wait, what? It's just like, yeah, yeah, there's a lot there. Like switchy BDSM as well. Like, yeah, I may sub to you, but I will also dom the shit out of you if you get too close. That's fun. But yeah,
Oh,
definitely the nerd thing. That's something that I've definitely
yeah.
uncovered. We're all nerds and it's great.
I think there's something about like once you step outside of the like social boxes, it's so much easier to like every other box is so much easier to step outside of.
Yeah.
Because it just starts with one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I found that with like family members as well. like
Yeah.
coming out as bisexual and then coming out as poly, and then it's kind of got to the point where they're like, it doesn't matter what I tell them, like I'm the weird one anyway, I'm the
Yeah.
black sheep of the family. They probably half expect it now. They're just nod like, okay, sure, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
thanks.
If you like
It's
it, I
great.
love it. That's great.
Yeah. I'm happy. So
Amazing. So good talking to you. I'm so happy to like actually like get to engage with you because I feel like we've been in the same world and social media and all
yes.
the things for a long, long time. And so I'm so happy
Definitely.
to get to chat with you.
Connect properly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And
And
thank
what a
you
way
for
to
coming
do it
on the
as well.
show. Exactly. And that was Hannah Da Silva with her Just the Tip for our Patreon supporters. If you didn't get to hear it, head over to patreon.com/notmonogamous and you'll get to hear her juicy tips. Bye.